Hi everyone, in this video we are going to talk about CSS box sizing. CSS box sizing defines the size of CSS boxes. In other words, the size of HTML elements, which are controlled by CSS. So first I'm going to create two boxes. I'm going to say div times 2, and each one of them is going to have a class of box dash $, means box 1 and box 2. Let's save these and let's go to CSS. Now, I'm going to keep this window shorter, and I'm going to keep this one a little bit wider. Let's go to inspect. This is also a part of the box model. The reason that we're talking about CSS boxes is because of the box model. I mean, that's why we're talking about it. So let's grab these two boxes, 996 width, 996 width. But because they don't have any height, they're shrunk to 0. We can't see them. Now, usually the size of any box in CSS is in terms of height and width. The actual width of an element, the actual width of a CSS box is equal to its width plus padding plus border. This is the actual width of a CSS element. And the same goes for the height. So if I come down here, I could say the actual height of a CSS box, not element, is height plus padding plus border. So what is the issue here? First, let's style these divs a little bit so we can actually see them on the screen. I'm gonna, okay, can we see the box model? Yeah, we can see it. So I'm gonna say the height for both of the boxes, I want it to be 100 pixels. The width for both of the boxes, I want it to be 500 pixels. And the margin top is going to be 10 pixels. So margin is not within the actual height of any CSS box. So let's save that. We don't see any of our boxes. Let's go ahead and let's provide them with some background colors. So I'm going to say div that has a class of box dash 1. Keep in mind that there is no space in between this element and this class. If there is no space, it means that this class belongs to that element. But if there is a space, the space is actually called technically the descendant selector. It means dot box dash 1 is a descendant of the div. But when we come to our HTML, that is not the case. Box 1 is actually the class of the div. So both of them refer to one element. Therefore, we are going to remove the descendant selector. This is another way of selecting HTML elements. And it says div that has a class of box 1. But if there is a space between div and dot box 1, it means there is a div, and that div has a child that has a class of box 1. Keep in mind, these are very tricky when it comes to CSS. So background color FFAB, AB 4C. This is going to be the background color for that box. So let's save that. There is the box. Let's grab the div with the box, with the class of box 2. And for this, I'm going to provide this background color, and let's save that. So these two are our divs. So what is the issue here? Why do we even have to study? I could just make this window a little bit smaller. There we go. So we have some more real estate here. So let's say for the box 1, I provide some padding of 10 pixels. And I provide some border of, I don't know, like 5 pixels all around, solid. And the color for the border is going to be F58840. Let's save both of these. So now we can see that even though both of the divs have the height of 100 pixels and the width of 500 pixels, it is clearly visible that this div 1 is bigger than div 2. Now, this is not something that you usually want in web development. I've already told you that when it comes to web development or programming, you need to be a control freak. You need to control every aspect of your application. Why? I mean, why would you want to do that, you might ask? It's because you need to make sure that you understand 100% of times how your website is going to react. and how your website is going to interact with the user. And you want to control all of those interactions so the user keeps coming back to your website and the traffic increases and your revenue increases. And you're ahead of the competition. Keep that in mind. So what you want is you definitely would want to make sure that you understand your website 100% and you understand 100% how it is going to interact with the user. Now, this is not something that you want to do because in your mind, what you've done is you've provided a height and a width for two boxes. The height and width is going to be uniform. This is a very common application in CSS that when we create multiple cards, like 3 cards in one row, their height and their width, it has to be the same. So when you do that, and you set it to the height of 100 pixels and width of 500 pixels, and you're thinking, okay, the height and width are equal, it means that both of the boxes, they're going to have the same dimensions. Well, no, that is not the case. Why? Because of the box sizing and how box sizing works in CSS. So box sizing is actually a property in CSS. Before diving into that property, I'm going to tell you again that because we have added padding and border, now the first box, it looks bigger than the second box. And the reason for it is because it is bigger. So now the width is 500 plus 10 on this side for padding and 10 on this side, that's 520, and 5 for the border on the right and 5 for the border on the left. Now the width, the actual width of the content is 530. So it's bigger by 30 pixels from the box number 2. So how can you make sure that when you specify a size for your boxes, it's going to stay the same no matter the value for padding or the value for border? That's where box sizing comes into place. So the default value for box sizing for all of CSS boxes, it doesn't matter what kind of a box is, whether it is an H1, a paragraph, a section, an anchor element, articles, doesn't matter what kind of element it is, the box sizing for that element, the default value is going to be content box. It means the width of the element is the width of the content of the element, which is not the actual size of the element. We know the actual size of any element is the width plus padding plus border. That is the actual size. That is what you want the actual size to be. So how can we fix this issue? This issue is fixed by using box sizing equal to border box. What does that mean? It means that box sizing is going to include content all the way to border and what is in between padding. So content, padding, and border. And when you save it now, voila, both of the boxes look the same. It doesn't matter how much you increase or decrease the padding or the border. At the end of the day, your boxes are going to look identical. This is what you want to do. We're going to use box sizing in every project that we create on this YouTube channel. Every project, without any exceptions. We're going to use that because we want to control the size of our boxes. Now, where is this padding being compensated for within the width? So, I'm just saying width, the same things also apply for the height as well. So I'm just giving you the width example. Now, the width is 500. We know that the width of any element is the width of the content, border, and padding. So when we have padding 10 pixels, it means it's 10 pixels on the right, 10 pixels on the left, that's 20. And when we say border 5, it means 5 on the right and 5 on the left. Why right and left? Because we're talking about width. When you're talking about height, then you're going to say top and bottom. I'm just giving you the width example. The same ideology applies for the height. So we have 20 for the padding and 10 for the border. That is 20 plus 10, that is 30. So 500 pixels minus 30 pixels, we are going to end up with 470, which is the value that you see right here. So 470, the value of the padding and the value of the border has to be compensated for by the width that you have applied, that you have specified. So if you provide a padding of 50 pixels, it means that 50 pixels on the right, 50 pixels on the left, that is 100, and 10 pixels for the border, left and right, 110. So 110 and 500 minus 110, that is 390. So if I save that, you can see we have 390 pixels right here. So we have 390 for the width of the content, even though we have specified the width as 500. Whereas the rest of 110, the rest of 110 is being accumulated by the padding, occupied by the padding, or acquired by the padding and the border. I'm sure you understood what I meant. So let's go to 10 pixels. The same goes for the height. So 10 plus 5 plus 5 plus 10, that's 15. 15 plus 70, that is 85. 85 plus 10, that's 95, plus 5, that's 100. Therefore, height of 100. So now it doesn't matter if one box has more padding than the other, or one box doesn't have any padding, the other box has padding. You don't really worry that those boxes are going to look different. Let's say for this box, for some reason you provide 8 pixels. And if we comment this one out, still there is a gigantic difference. And if we comment out the border, still you can see that these two boxes, they are not equal. There we go. You can see that this is a little bit big than this one, and that is 2 pixels. So with this, our lecture comes to an end. I'm sure you understood the point. Make sure to use box sizing border box to avoid any surprises. See you in the next one.